The air was cold and still, like the world itself had stopped breathing. Deep underground, a soft glow flickered inside a cracked chamber, lighting the pale face of an alien girl lying among broken machines. Her name was Lira, and she woke to silence so heavy it pressed on her chest. Dust fell from the ceiling, landing on her silver hair as she blinked weakly, her vision blurred, her body numb. She tried to sit up, but pain shot through her stomach. Her hand went to her belly, and her heart froze. It was glowing, faintly, like something alive pulsed beneath her skin. Her breath quickened, her mind racing to remember what happened. There were flashes, bright lights, metal tables, voices shouting, a scream that wasn't hers, and then darkness. She looked around the chamber. The walls were made of smooth metal, cracked and burnt in places. Strange symbols glowed faintly, and thick tubes hung from the ceiling, dripping dark liquid onto the floor. Everything smelled like rust and decay. In the corner, a shattered control panel sparked weakly, lighting the word, Project Hybrid. Phase 9. Lira's heart thudded hard. She remembered that name. Project Hybrid. It was the forbidden experiment her colony once whispered about. They tried to create new life forms to survive their dying world. They said the scientists used their own DNA mixed with creatures from the deep caves. She was never part of it, or so she thought. Her eyes widened as she looked down again at the faint light in her belly. No, it can't be, she whispered, her voice trembling. Her mind screamed the truth she didn't want to accept. She was pregnant, and it wasn't by any natural way. Tears burned her eyes as she whispered into the empty air. What did they do to me? A low growl echoed through the tunnels outside. It was deep, wet, and close. She froze, her pulse racing as she turned toward the sound. Her ears caught the soft scrape of claws on metal, followed by a distant hiss. She wasn't alone down here. Fear took over, but she refused to stay still. She dragged herself toward the broken control panel, wires sparking under her fingers. Her hand shook as she tried to connect the pieces. The old screen flickered, static filling the chamber. A single word blinked. Signal offline. Lira bit her lip hard. She had to reach someone. Anyone. Her trembling fingers dug into the panel, reconnecting a broken wire. The machine sparked again, and suddenly faint green light filled the small transmitter. She pressed the speaker, her voice weak but desperate. "This is Lira of the Envora colony," she whispered, her voice cracking. "Please, if anyone can hear this, I need help. I'm trapped underground. Something is down here with me." Static answered her. Then silence. Her hope started to fade. She looked up at the ceiling, whispering to herself, "Please, someone, hear me?" Her voice broke as another sound echoed. Closer this time, heavy breathing and wet footsteps slithering through the dark corridor beyond the door. She backed away, clutching her stomach. Her tears mixed with the dust on her face. Her heart screamed, "I don't want to die down here." The transmitter flickered again, and suddenly a faint male voice broke through the static. "This is Captain Ryan Holt. Identify yourself. I repeat, who's sending this signal?" Her eyes widened, her heart leaping. "Please," she cried. "Please help me. I'm trapped underground. There's something here. It's coming." The voice grew clearer, calm but firm. "Stay where you are. I'm locking onto your signal. Don't move. What's your name?" "Lira," she said, her voice shaking. "Please hurry, I can hear it. It's close." Ryan's voice paused, static filling the air again. Then he said softly, "Hold on, Lira. I hear you. I'm coming." The words hit her like a spark of hope. But before she could answer, the chamber door groaned, metal bending from the outside. A long, dark claw pierced through the steel, dripping black fluid onto the floor. Lira stumbled back, her eyes wide in horror. The creature was forcing its way in, and its deep breathing filled the room. She screamed into the transmitter, "It's here, it found me." Ryan's voice came through again, urgent now. "Lira, listen to me. Stay alive, you hear me? I'm on my way. Don't let it touch you." The door cracked open, revealing a massive glowing eye staring straight at her. Lira crawled backward, clutching her stomach as the creature's shadow filled the chamber. Her heart pounded so fast it hurt, her breath shaking. And in that moment, as the creature roared, shaking the walls, the transmitter fell to the floor, but Ryan's voice still came faintly through the static. "Hold on, Lira. I'm coming for you." The last thing she saw before everything went dark again was the faint, glowing light from her stomach. A heartbeat that didn't belong to her. Far above the dead planet of Envora, the salvage ship Horizon's Reach drifted through a field of frozen debris, its engines humming softly in the silence of space. Inside, Captain Ryan Holt, a lone human salvager, sat in his cockpit surrounded by the blue glow of flickering monitors. He was tired, unshaven, and bored, counting the days since his last real job. Space had become too quiet since the alien colonies fell, too cold since the last wars ended. He had seen many strange things out here: dead worlds, drifting wrecks, and broken satellites whispering old messages. But tonight something different reached him. A sudden burst of static made his screens flash. "Unidentified transmission detected," his ship's AI said in a calm, female voice. Ryan leaned forward, frowning. "That's impossible. No one's supposed to be alive down there." He tapped a few keys, boosting the signal. Through the noise, a weak voice came through, trembling and desperate. "Please, if anyone can hear this, I need help." Ryan froze. The voice was soft, alien, but female, scared. He could hear something else behind her words, a distant roar, and metal bending under pressure. He turned to his AI. "Trace it." "Signal is from the planet's surface," the AI replied. "Deep sublevel structure, coordinates locked. Radiation levels critical." Ryan muttered. "An underground facility. Old Envora labs." He sat in silence for a few seconds, staring at the signal monitor blinking red. He could ignore it, sell the data later and no one would know. But then he heard her again, a scream cutting through the static. "Please, it's here, help me." Ryan slammed his hand on the console. "Prep the descent module," he ordered, his tone sharp. The AI's voice replied instantly. "Captain, descent not advised, the planet is unstable. Life form readings are unknown." "Yeah," Ryan said, strapping in his gear. "That's why I'm going." Within minutes, his ship entered the planet's thin atmosphere, shaking as it pushed through heavy dust clouds. Lightning crackled around him, illuminating endless wastelands below. The AI's scanners beeped rapidly. Multiple energy signatures below the surface. One humanoid. One unclassified. Ryan's jaw tightened. "I'll take my chances." The module hit the surface hard, sinking into gray ash and mud. Ryan grabbed his rifle, oxygen mask, and thermal scanner before stepping out into the dead wind. The air was thick and bitter, every step crunching over cracked ground and the bones of something long gone. The entrance to the underground complex stood half buried, a broken hatch leading into darkness. He turned on his helmet light and began to descend. The tunnels stretched like veins through the planet's flesh. Every wall carried strange burn marks and alien runes. Cables hung like spiderwebs, and the deeper he went, the louder the echo of his footsteps became. Something dripped in the distance, slow and steady. The air grew warmer, and his scanner beeped faintly, detecting faint life signs ahead. Then he found it. A chamber, torn apart by an explosion filled with broken glass pods and glowing tubes. In the center, half covered by metal debris, lay an alien girl. Her silver hair was tangled with wires, her pale skin glowing faintly from her abdomen. She looked fragile, almost lifeless until her eyes flicked open wide and terrified. Ryan knelt beside her, his voice calm. "Easy. Easy. I'm human. You sent the SOS, right?" Her lips trembled. I didn't think anyone would come." He gently brushed off the dust from her shoulder. "You're lucky I was nearby. What happened down here?" She hesitated, her eyes distant. They tried to make something new, something to save us. But it changed. It turned on them. It used me. Her hands shook as she touched her stomach. "It's inside me," she whispered, "and it's still alive." Ryan's heart sank. He glanced at his scanner. 2 life forms registered in the same space. One small, one massive and moving closer. He slowly raised his rifle, scanning the shadows of the chamber. "Stay behind me," he said softly. From deep down the corridor, a wet, low hiss echoed, long and haunting, the sound of something hunting. The ground trembled, dust falling from the ceiling. Lira's breathing quickened, her eyes filling with tears. "It knows I'm awake." Ryan gritted his teeth. "Then we move now." He pulled her up, one arm around her, leading her toward the nearest exit on his scanner. Behind them, the darkness came alive, something massive scraping metal as it crawled closer. They ran through the collapsing hall, Ryan firing at the ceiling to block the path behind them. The entire tunnel shook as a roar thundered through it. Lira stumbled, clutching her belly, pain flashing through her face. Ryan lifted her again, shouting over the noise. "We're getting out of here, hold on!" The tunnel split open with a blast of heat as the creature rammed into the wall behind them. Ryan turned, catching only a glimpse of glowing red eyes and claws big enough to crush a tank. He fired a pulse shot, the explosion lighting the corridor in white light. For a brief moment he saw its form, part flesh, part metal, something that should never have lived. He dragged Lira into a side chamber, slamming the heavy door shut. The echo of the monster's growl faded for a moment, leaving only their gasping breaths. Ryan knelt beside her, scanning her vitals. Her pulse was weak but steady. She looked at him with fearful eyes and whispered, "You shouldn't have come, human. Now it will come for you too." Ryan gave a tired half-smile. "Yeah, well, it already has." Outside the door, the creature scraped its claws slowly across the metal, and for the first time, Ryan realized this rescue might be a one-way trip. The silence in the sealed chamber felt heavy, like the air itself was afraid to move. Ryan pressed his ear against the metal door. Listening, the creature outside had stopped scraping, but he could still hear its slow, rumbling breath echoing through the tunnels. It wasn't gone, it was waiting. He turned to Lira, who sat trembling near a broken control console, clutching her stomach as faint light pulsed beneath her skin. Her face was pale, her silver eyes wide with fear. "Every time it moves," she whispered, "I can feel it inside me, like it's calling to me." Ryan frowned, kneeling beside her. "You said it used you," he said quietly. "Tell me what you mean." Lira swallowed hard, her voice breaking. "They took creatures from the deep mines, things that survived where no air or light existed. They thought they could control them. But the creatures were smarter. They learned, they grew, they infected everything they touched." She looked at him with tears in her eyes. "And when they couldn't control them, they used us, the colony women, as carriers." Ryan clenched his jaw. Disgusted, "So you were their experiment," he said. Lira nodded slowly. "They called it the Hybrid Project. They said they would save our race, but instead they created monsters." Her hand trembled as she touched her belly. "It's their child, but it's not just a monster. I can feel thoughts, confused, angry, hungry. It knows me." A low hum came from Ryan's scanner and his eyes widened. The screen showed 2 life forms again, one right in front of him, and one moving slowly inside Lira. Its pulse matched hers, like a heartbeat trying to sync with her own. "Damn," Ryan muttered, stepping back. "You're bonded to it somehow." She looked up weakly. "If I die, it dies too. That's why it's protecting me." A sudden crash shook the chamber, the metal door bending inward. Ryan raised his rifle and shouted, "Move back!" The wall cracked and a sharp tendril pushed through the gap. Glowing faint red at the tip, it slashed the air just inches from Lira's face. Leaving a deep scar on the wall, Ryan fired, the pulse shot slicing through the tendril, black blood splattering across the floor. A shriek echoed through the tunnels, shaking dust from the ceiling. The creature roared in pain, but the sound wasn't just from outside. Lira screamed too, grabbing her stomach as her veins lit up like fire. Ryan froze, watching her writhe in agony. The creature outside and the one within her were linked. When one was hurt, the other suffered. "Stop shooting!" she cried out, her voice trembling. "You'll kill us both." Ryan lowered his weapon, heart pounding. The creature outside retreated slowly, its growl turning into a distant rumble before fading into silence again. For a long moment, there was only their heavy breathing. Ryan crouched beside her, whispering, "It's okay, it's gone. For now." But his mind was racing. He had to find a way to break the connection before it killed them both. Lira wiped her tears, staring at the blood on the floor. "I can still hear it," she whispered. "It's angry. And hungry. It wants to finish what it started." Ryan stood and walked to the cracked console, trying to power it up. The old screen flickered, showing fragmented logs written in alien script. He tapped a few buttons, and one of the lines translated to human text. Subject 09, viable host. Neural link confirmed, heart synchronization stable, parasitic phase imminent. He exhaled sharply. "They really made you into part of it." Lira's voice came from behind him, soft but steady. "That's why no one came back from these labs. They didn't just make monsters, they became them." Ryan turned to her, his eyes hard. "Then we're ending this before it finishes you." Suddenly, his scanner beeped again, a stronger signal pulsing deeper below them. He saw it clearly now on the screen. A massive energy source moving through the tunnels. It wasn't wandering aimlessly. It was coming straight toward them. "Get up," he said firmly. "We have to move. There's an escape route through the maintenance tunnels. It might lead to the reactor core." Lira hesitated, holding her belly. "What if it follows?" Ryan gave a small smirk. "Then we make it regret that mistake." He helped her stand, and together they slipped into the narrow tunnel behind the chamber. The path was dark, filled with dripping pipes and shifting shadows. Every sound made Lira flinch, and every vibration in the metal floor made Ryan's finger tighten around his trigger. Behind them, faint echoes of wet claws crawled along the walls. The creature was hunting again, slowly, carefully, as if savoring the chase. As they reached a large cavern filled with old machines, Lira stopped suddenly. Her eyes widened. Staring at the ground, there were deep claw marks burned into the floor, and next to them, a strange symbol glowing faintly, a spiral of light with a slash through it. Ryan scanned it, his device translating the alien script nearby. Mark of the Creator. All hybrids return to the source. Lira's breath caught. "That's it. That's the mark I saw in my dreams." She turned toward Ryan, her voice trembling. "It's calling me back to where it was made." Ryan looked at her, the glow of her stomach reflecting in his visor. "Then we find it," he said, "and we end it for good." Behind them, the creature's roar echoed once more, closer than before. It was no longer just hunting. It was coming home. The tunnel walls shook as the roar echoed again. Deeper, louder, closer. Lira stumbled forward, clutching the wall for balance. Her breath sharp and uneven. Ryan caught her before she fell, his arm steady around her shoulders. "Keep moving," he said firmly, his eyes scanning the flickering light ahead. "It's coming." Behind them, the sound of twisting metal echoed, followed by a heavy, wet dragging noise. The creature was tearing through the walls, following their scent. The air grew thicker as they moved deeper. Pipes hissed steam, and faint blue light leaked through the cracks in the walls. Lira's steps slowed, her strength fading. Her voice was a weak whisper. "It knows where I am. It can feel me." Ryan looked at her glowing stomach. Each pulse of light matched the sound of the creature's heartbeat. Echoing through the tunnels, he frowned. "It's tracking you through that connection." She nodded, eyes full of fear. "I can't hide from it. Not while this thing inside me is awake." Ryan glanced at his wristpad. The holographic map showed a long vertical tunnel ahead, an old elevator shaft that led toward the reactor chamber. It was their only chance. He helped Lira climb over fallen metal, his flashlight bouncing over broken control panels and smashed glass. When they reached the end of the corridor, the elevator shaft yawned before them. Dark, deep, endless. Ryan shone his light downward. The floor was far below, maybe hundreds of meters. Rusty ladders clung to the walls and old cables dangled like vines. "It's a long way down," he muttered, "but it's the only path left." Before they could start, the metal behind them groaned. Lira turned just in time to see a dark tendril push through the wall, dripping black liquid that hissed when it hit the ground. "Ryan!" she cried. He raised his rifle and fired, the pulse shot lighting the tunnel in a white flash. The blast tore the tendril apart, but more appeared, twisting like snakes through the cracks. The entire corridor trembled as the creature's roar thundered through the walls. It was no longer hiding, it was angry. "Go!" Ryan shouted, pushing Lira toward the ladder. She hesitated, terrified. "I'll fall. I'll be right behind you," he said. With trembling hands, Lira grabbed the ladder and began to climb down, her glowing light flickering against the dark shaft. Ryan fired again, sealing the tunnel with a small explosion, then followed quickly after her for a few seconds. There was silence except for their breathing and the distant hum of old machines. Then a deafening sound filled the shaft. The creature had forced its body through the blocked tunnel. Its claws scraped metal, and its glowing red eyes appeared above them. Looking straight down, Lira gasped. "It's coming!" Ryan shouted, "Keep climbing!" The beast's massive claws tore chunks from the wall as it descended after them. Ryan aimed upward and fired pulse after pulse, the blast lighting the shaft like lightning strikes. The creature howled in pain, but it didn't stop. A tendril whipped down and wrapped around Ryan's arm, pulling him upward. He gritted his teeth and stabbed a combat blade into it, black fluid splattering across his visor. "Not today," he growled, cutting himself free. Lyra's hand slipped from the ladder, and she screamed as she fell. Ryan lunged, catching her wrist at the last moment. Her eyes met his, wide with terror. He pulled her up, muscles straining. "I got you. You're not falling. Not now." She clung to him, whispering, "Why are you doing this? I'm not even human." He looked down at her glowing stomach, then back into her eyes. "Because you asked for help. That's enough." They finally reached the bottom, collapsing onto the cold metal floor. The creature's shadow loomed high above, its body half human, half nightmare. Ryan grabbed a plasma grenade from his belt, pulled the pin, and threw it upward. The explosion filled the shaft with light, shaking the ground. The creature screamed as fire tore through its limbs, and for a moment the entire structure trembled. Dust and debris rained down, sealing the passage above them. Lira coughed, covering her mouth. "Is it dead?" Ryan shook his head. "Not yet, but that'll slow it down." He helped her up, and together they moved into a wide, dimly lit chamber. Old machinery hummed faintly, and a single door stood at the far end marked Reactor Control. Lira stared at it, her voice faint. "That's where they made it." "Where they made me." Ryan placed a hand on her shoulder. "Then that's where we end it." But as he opened the door, a low rumble echoed from behind. The sealed shaft cracked open again, crimson light pouring through the cracks. The creature was still alive, crawling through fire and smoke. Furious, unstoppable. Ryan looked at Lira, his expression calm despite the fear in his eyes. "Run to the reactor," he said, loading a new cell into his rifle. "I'll hold it off," she shook her head. "You'll die." He smiled faintly. "Maybe, but I've done worse things for strangers." Lira hesitated, then whispered, "Don't let it win." "I won't," Ryan said, stepping back into the smoke, rifle ready. As the door sealed behind her, his voice came faintly through the comms. "Keep going. Lira, finish this." And from the darkness above, the creature's roar answered. The final hunt had begun. The ground trembled as Ryan backed into the smoke-filled tunnel, his rifle glowing faint blue with each charge. Every echo of the creature's claws against the metal walls sent chills down his spine. The air was hot, heavy, and thick with the smell of burning oil and ash. Behind the sealed reactor door, Lira struggled to breathe, pressing her hands against her glowing stomach. Her heartbeat matched the deep rumbling outside, the sound of the monster closing in on Ryan. Ryan's voice came through the comm. Calm but strained. "Lira, listen carefully. You need to reach the control core. There should be a large console with a circular lock." She turned, stumbling toward the glowing reactor chamber. "What are you planning?" His voice crackled through the static. "A gamble. To end this thing before it reaches the surface." She froze, gripping the console. "No. If you overload the reactor, we'll both die." Ryan chuckled softly, the sound tired but fearless. "You're forgetting something. Humans are hard to kill." Outside the chamber, Ryan reloaded his rifle as the creature's shadow appeared through the smoke. It was taller than before, its limbs burned and twisted, its skin glowing with molten cracks. Its voice slithered through the air, a blend of growl and whisper. "Give her to me. She is mine." Ryan steadied his rifle, his eyes cold. "Not today." The monster lunged. Ryan rolled aside, firing 3 quick bursts into its chest. The blast sent it staggering, but it didn't stop. It only screamed louder, the sound shaking the entire corridor. One of its claws struck the wall, shattering pipes and sending sparks raining down. Ryan ducked behind a collapsed beam, his pulse racing. He knew he couldn't win a straight fight. He needed time, for Lira, for the plan, for something to change inside the reactor room. Lira found the control core glowing bright blue. Old screens flickered with warnings in both alien and human code. She scanned the data. Reactor unstable. Coolant offline. Containment breach in progress. Her stomach pulsed again, stronger this time, and she dropped to her knees. A voice echoed faintly in her mind, cold, deep, inhuman. "Mother." She gasped, clutching her head. "No, you're not mine," the voice replied. "You made me. You carried me. I am part of you." Her eyes filled with tears as she looked toward the sealed door. "Ryan, it's talking to me," she whispered through the comm. He responded quickly. "Ignore it, Lira. It's trying to control you." Her voice trembled. "It's not just talking. It's feeling. It's scared." Ryan paused for a moment before answering. "Then use that fear. Don't let it control you." "You control it," the creature roared again. Smashing through another wall, Ryan fired a plasma grenade at its feet, the explosion lighting the hallway like daylight. The blast threw him back, slamming him into a metal pillar. His armor cracked, his shoulder burned, but he stood again, blood running down his cheek. "You don't quit, do you?" he muttered to the creature. It growled. "You are nothing human," Ryan smirked. "Yeah? Tell that to every monster who's ever tried to kill us." Inside, Lyra's eyes glowed brighter as she placed her hands on the reactor's power core. Energy surged through her veins, the same energy that tied her to the creature. She realized she could feel both the reactor and the monster at once. Their rhythms were linked through her if she could redirect that link. "Maybe she could trap it, Ryan," she said softly. "I have an idea, but it might kill me." He groaned, reloading his rifle. "You sound like me now." She smiled weakly through her tears. "Then maybe I learned from the best." She closed her eyes, focusing her mind. The energy inside her shifted from chaos to control. The pulse of the creature slowed, its roar turning into confusion. Ryan noticed it hesitate, stepping back uncertainly. "What's happening?" he whispered. Lyra's voice came through, calm but distant. "I'm calling it back. To me." The ground split as the creature howled in pain, its tendrils flaring like fire. It turned toward the reactor door, slamming its claws against it again and again. Ryan saw its strength fading, the connection between them tightening. He shouted, "Lira! Whatever you're doing, finish it." Her voice echoed faintly. "I can't hold it for long. You have to overload the reactor now." Ryan limped toward the manual override. His hands moved fast despite the pain. Entering the code from his datapad, the reactor alarm screamed to life, red lights flashing across the corridors. "Overload sequence initiated," the AI announced. He looked up at the sealed door one last time. "Lira, listen. You did good. You made a stand." Her voice came through, weak but steady. "So did you, human." The creature's eyes flared red as it lunged one final time. Ryan grabbed his last grenade, pulled the pin, and whispered, "For Earth." He threw it straight into the creature's chest as the explosion tore through the hallway. A blinding white light filled the tunnels, drowning out the roar, the screams, the pain in the reactor room. Lyra's body glowed brighter than ever, her tears vanishing in the light. The last thing she felt was warmth, not from fear, but from something human, and then everything went silent. Silence filled the underground ruins, a silence so deep it felt alive. Dust floated through the air, lit by flickering orange light from dying fires. The blast had collapsed most of the tunnels, leaving only twisted metal and falling ash for a long while. There was no sound, no movement until a faint breath broke through the smoke. Ryan's glove twitched first, his fingers scraping against the cracked floor. He coughed hard, the taste of iron in his mouth, his ears ringing from the explosion. The HUD on his visor blinked faintly. Critical damage. Low oxygen, reactor overload delayed. He blinked through the static in his helmet display, mumbling, "Still alive. Great." As he pushed himself up, he saw light through the haze, soft, blue and pulsing. Lira, lying a few meters away, surrounded by a faint glow. Her silver hair was spread across the floor, her hands clutching her belly. Ryan limped toward her, dropping beside her. "Hey, Lira, talk to me." Her eyes fluttered open, weak but alive. "You came back," he smiled faintly through blood and soot. Told you humans are hard to kill. Before either could move again, the ground beneath them trembled. A deep pulse rippled through the metal, echoing like a heartbeat from below. Ryan's head snapped toward the reactor chamber. That's not good, he muttered. Lira's body tensed, her glow flickering. It's still here. It's inside the reactor now. The lights overhead flickered violently, then dimmed to darkness. From deep within the broken core, a red radiance began to spread, slow, burning, powerful. A low growl rolled through the tunnels, followed by a sound like tearing steel. Ryan helped Lira to her feet. We've got to move before this whole place turns into a crater. But she didn't move. Her eyes were distant, full of terror and understanding. It's not dying, she whispered. It's changing. A massive explosion of light tore through the corridor ahead. Fire shot upward as molten fragments rained down. From the heart of the reactor chamber, something began to rise. Ryan shielded his eyes as the walls cracked and split apart, revealing a towering shape. The creature, no. What was left of it was no longer the same. Its body was fused with the reactor's machinery, metal veins running through its flesh. Its chest glowed like molten glass, and where its heart should be, blue and red light intertwined. The hybrid had merged with the power core, reborn from destruction. Lira gasped, backing away. It used the energy. It fed on the explosion. Ryan raised his weapon. Though he knew it wouldn't matter. He whispered under his breath. Guess I should have used a bigger bomb. The monster's voice shook the air, layered with both growl and whisper. You tried to destroy me, human, but I am evolution. It moved forward, every step shaking the ground. Steam hissed from its wounds and molten metal dripped from its claws. Lira fell to her knees, clutching her chest. She screamed as her body lit up again, the light stronger, sharper. Ryan ran to her, shouting, Lira, stay with me. Through clenched teeth, she whispered, It's calling me back. It wants to use me again. He grabbed her shoulders, eyes fierce. No, you're stronger than it. You control it, remember? Her tears glowed like liquid silver. It's part of me, but maybe I can still fight it. The monster raised its claw and slammed it down. Ryan tackled Lira out of the way as the ground split open behind them. Fire shot up, painting the walls red. Ryan rolled over and aimed for the reactor heart in its chest, firing nonstop. Each blast hit, but the creature barely flinched. It was absorbing the shots like energy. It leaned forward, growling, Your weapons only feed me. Ryan's rifle overheated and died. He cursed, throwing it aside, and pulled out a small, blinking device, the detonator from the last plasma charge he had left. He looked at Lira, breathing hard. If I can get close enough to its heart, she cut him off. No. If you do that, the shockwave will kill you. He smiled faintly. We both knew it might end that way. Before he could move, Lira's hand shot out, grabbing his wrist. Her eyes glowed bright silver, her voice trembling. There's another way. She stepped toward the creature. The glow in her body pulsing faster, Ryan shouted, Lira, stop, you'll die. She turned her head slightly, giving him a faint, sad smile. I'm not dying, human. I'm taking back what it stole. The creature roared, swinging its massive arm at her. But before it could hit, the air around her exploded in white light. Her body lifted from the ground, surrounded by arcs of energy. Her voice echoed through the chamber, layered with strength and sorrow. You are no god. You are what they made, and I am ending it. The light shot from her chest into the creature's core. It screamed, clawing at its own body as energy tore through it. The reactor walls cracked and burned, blue lightning dancing across the metal. Ryan shielded his eyes as the blinding light filled every corner of the chamber. He shouted her name, but his voice was lost in the storm. Then everything went white. When the light faded, Ryan found himself lying on the floor again. The reactor was gone, melted into glass, and the creature, nothing but ash. Lira lay motionless beside him, her glow gone. He crawled to her side, shaking her gently. Lira, come on, open your eyes. No response, just the soft hum of cooling metal. But as he bowed his head in silence, a faint heartbeat pulsed beneath his hand, soft, fragile, but steady. Her voice came weakly. It's over, isn't it? Ryan smiled through the pain. Yeah, it's over. You did it. But somewhere deep below, a faint blue flicker glowed again in the melted core. Something small, something new, beating like a second heart. Rain fell softly over the shattered plains of Envora. The first rainfall the dead world had seen in years. Black clouds rolled across the sky, carrying the scent of ash and rebirth. From the cracks of the planet's surface, faint light rose, blue veins glowing beneath the mud like buried stars. Among the ruins, a human figure pushed through the rubble, dragging his injured leg with each step. Ryan Holt coughed, his armor cracked and burned. His visor half broken, every breath hurt, but he kept moving, one hand gripping a small shape wrapped in his jacket. The wind howled, carrying whispers from the collapsing underground. Behind him, the reactor chamber had caved in completely, sealing away the nightmare that once slept beneath. He reached a small hill of rock and sat down, breathing heavily beside him. Lira lay motionless, her skin pale but peaceful, her silver hair tangled with dust. Her chest rose faintly. She was still alive. Though barely, Ryan gently touched her forehead, whispering, "You did it, Lira. It's gone." Her eyelids fluttered, her voice soft, fragile. Gone. But something stayed behind. He frowned, looking down at the bundle in his arms. Wrapped in the fabric was a faintly glowing infant, small, with soft blue veins under its skin and eyes that shimmered between human brown and alien silver. It made a quiet sound, more sigh than cry. Lira smiled weakly, tears forming in her eyes. It lived. Ryan shook his head in disbelief. That thing should have died with the reactor. She reached out, her fingers trembling, touching the baby's tiny hand. No, not that thing. This one's different. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The storm around them grew louder, but somehow, the sound felt calm, cleansing. Ryan looked out across the wasteland, the dark clouds clearing just enough for a faint light to break through. Guess the world's not done yet, he muttered. Lyra's breathing slowed, her voice fading. It doesn't feel like me anymore. The connection is gone. It's free now. Ryan turned toward her quickly. Stay with me, Lira, you hear me? Don't you dare leave now. She gave a small laugh, weak but real. Always. So stubborn, human. Her hand brushed his cheek. You heard my voice when no one else did, and you came for me. He looked down, his throat tight. That's what we do. Her smile lingered for a moment before her eyes closed and her hand fell gently to her side. Ryan sat there for a long time, holding her hand. He didn't cry. Humans had learned to bury pain deep, but his chest ached like something heavy pressed against it. He placed the baby beside her, wrapping them both in his jacket. Rest, Lira. You earned it, he said softly. Then the baby stirred again, reaching out a small hand toward his. Ryan looked at it, blinking away the haze in his eyes. Tiny fingers grabbed his glove, the faint glow of life warming his palm. Yeah, he whispered. You're her hope, aren't you? The part that lived. A distant rumble echoed in the sky, drawing his attention upward through the clouds. Faint lights descended, 3 rescue shuttles marked with the insignia of Earth Command. His helmet's broken comm crackled to life. Captain Holt, this is Rescue Division 7. We received your SOS beacon. Are you still alive down there? Ryan grinned faintly. Alive enough? And I've got someone you're going to want to see. Minutes later, med drones landed around him. Scanning for life signs, one of the rescuers, a woman in white armor, knelt beside him, eyes widening at the sight of the baby. Sir, what is that? Ryan's voice was steady. Something new. Half of her, half of us. The rescuer looked uncertain. Is it safe? Ryan smiled tiredly. We won't know unless we give it a chance. As they loaded him onto a stretcher, the medic looked down at Lyra's still form. Ryan said quietly, Bring her too. She's a hero. The galaxy deserves to know her name. The rescuer nodded solemnly, covering her body with a clean thermal sheet. When they lifted off, the land below shimmered with light, rain washing away years of decay. Where the reactor once stood, green shoots were already breaking through the blackened earth. From the ship window, Ryan looked down, holding the infant close. It opened its eyes again, one human brown, one alien silver. He smiled softly. You're proof we can make peace out of monsters. The baby blinked slowly, a faint hum echoing from its chest. A sound not mechanical, not alien, just alive. The AI voice on the shuttle said, Captain Holt, destination Earth in 37 hours. Ryan looked out at the stars, whispering, home. He leaned back, exhaustion finally overtaking him as his eyes closed. He felt the baby's warmth against his chest for the first time in years. He dreamed. Not of war or monsters or silence, but of laughter, light, and a future that might still be worth fighting for. Outside the ship's window, Navora glowed faintly beneath the storm. A world once dead, now breathing again, and somewhere far below the clouds, a single flower bloomed through the ash, its petals glowing with the same silver-blue light that once shone in Lyra's eyes.